The game is over, regime mafia. The illusion finally cracked in broad daylight, and the internet caught every second of it in high definition. That throne people thought was sitting empty waiting for somebody new to claim it. It was never available, never abandoned, never waiting to be replaced. And now, after months of carefully staged interviews, luxury store photo ops, podcast sound bites, and social media flexing, the cracks in the performance are starting to show all at once. And the wildest part? Nobody forced the truth out. The truth leaked through the performance itself. Now, before the comment section turns into a battlefield, let me say this clearly. I didn't invent the receipts. I didn't create the bank slip rumors. I didn't position Papoose in the background of that jewelry store photo, looking like a security guard waiting for his shift to end. I didn't sit Claressa Shields down on national radio and make her tell stories that the internet immediately started dissecting. I didn't upload the clips. I didn't write the captions. I'm simply connecting dots that were already painted across the timeline in giant neon ink. And once you connect those dots, the entire story starts looking very different. Because this isn't just celebrity gossip anymore. This has become something deeper. A public performance about image, status, validation, and imitation. And at the center of it all sits one uncomfortable question nobody wants to ask directly. Was Claressa Shields trying to build her own love story? Or trying to recreate Remy Ma's? That's the conversation people are dancing around. Because when you strip away the headlines, what do you really see? The matching luxury aesthetic. The ride or die branding. The public displays about loyalty. The my man supports me narrative. The outlaw couple energy. The endless effort to present a power duo image online. But here's the problem with recreating a legacy someone else already built. The audience remembers the original. And whether people like it or not, Remy Ma and Papoose spent years becoming one of hip-hop's most recognizable couples. Their relationship became part of pop culture history. People watched them survive prison sentences, public pressure, reality TV, career struggles, and industry chaos. That story became emotionally attached to the public in a way you can't easily replace through Instagram captions and luxury shopping photos. That's why every attempt to recreate the image keeps getting compared back to the original blueprint. And comparisons are dangerous when the audience already chose who they believe first. One of the biggest moments that shifted public opinion was that jewelry store image everybody keeps discussing online. The internet analyzed that photo like it was a crime scene. Claressa sitting at the desk handling an allegedly massive luxury purchase, while Papoose stood in the background with folded arms and sunglasses on, looking disconnected from the transaction entirely. The image became symbolic overnight. Not because anyone could verify every financial detail, but because body language tells stories people instinctively understand. And in that moment, the internet didn't see a man showering his woman with luxury. They saw a woman financing a fantasy, while allowing the audience to assume somebody else funded it. That distinction matters. Because social media isn't just about reality anymore. It's about storytelling. And once the audience starts believing the story is staged, everything else begins collapsing around it. Suddenly every interview gets re-examined. Every caption feels strategic. Every flex looks rehearsed. Every romantic moment starts feeling like branding instead of chemistry. That's exactly what's happening now. Then came the radio interviews, where Claressa Shields spoke confidently about Papoose supposedly handling bills and taking care of responsibilities. And immediately the internet began side-eyeing the entire narrative because people started asking obvious questions. If somebody is allegedly covering everything, why are there still public conversations about personal payments, car notes, and finances being split in ways that don't match the fantasy being sold? That's where the image began cracking. Because the internet can forgive almost anything except inconsistency. Once people detect contradictions between the lifestyle being advertised and the reality accidentally revealed underneath, they become obsessed with exposing every flaw in the performance. And honestly, that's where this entire situation shifted from romance to spectacle. Another layer people keep noticing is the pattern surrounding female celebrities and trends. Online critics have pointed out how Claressa Shields often appears attached to whichever female rapper or influencer currently dominates social conversation. Whether it was reposts, comments, associations, or subtle attempts at closeness, people began interpreting it as social climbing rather than genuine friendship. Now, fair or unfair, perception becomes reality online. And once the audience labels somebody fame-hungry, every future move gets filtered through that assumption. That's why even simple reposts now create backlash. Because people no longer see confidence. They see somebody trying too hard to belong inside spaces they weren't naturally invited into. And meanwhile, what makes Remy Ma look stronger in comparison is her silence. That's the part driving the internet crazy. She didn't spend weeks doing emotional interviews. She didn't flood social media with explanations. She didn't rant online every day. She didn't publicly beg people to pick sides. Instead, she moved strategically. A song here, a subtle caption there, a quiet flex, then silence again. And silence, when used correctly, becomes power. That's the lesson so many people miss in modern internet culture. Everybody thinks visibility equals control. But often the person saying the least controls the narrative the most because mystery gives people room to project strength onto you. Remy Ma understood that instinctively. While everybody else argued publicly, she let the internet investigate for her. And that's why people keep saying she's winning without trying. Not because she's perfect, not because she's innocent, but because she understood something Claressa Shields seems to still be learning. The more emotional energy you spend defending an image online, the weaker the image begins to look. That's the hidden law of social media. Powerful people rarely over-explain themselves. Secure people rarely overperform happiness. People who truly feel chosen usually don't need strangers validating it every single day. And the audience notices those differences immediately. Another uncomfortable conversation hiding inside this entire drama is money. Because a huge part of this relationship's public branding revolves around financial success, luxury, and status. Expensive jewelry, designer purchases, big contracts, expensive gifts, lavish energy. But money optics online can become dangerous when people start questioning who is actually financing what. That's why the alleged $87,000 luxury purchase became such a viral talking point. It symbolized something larger than a shopping receipt. To critics, it represented a woman allegedly funding her own fantasy, while allowing a man to receive public credit for it. Again, nobody can fully verify every rumor online, and rumors should always be treated carefully. But perception drives internet narratives more than facts do. And the perception forming right now is brutal. People increasingly see Papoose not as a powerful provider figure, but as someone repeatedly attaching himself to successful women with bigger careers, stronger brands, and larger financial momentum. That narrative has existed around him for years. And now critics believe history is simply repeating itself with a different woman. Whether that's fair or not almost stops mattering once the internet collectively decides it believes it. That's the real danger of public relationships in the digital era. Once the audience creates a storyline around you, escaping it becomes nearly impossible. And the craziest part is that Claressa Shields already had enough accomplishments to stand completely on her own. She didn't need relationship validation to make her impressive. She's already one of the greatest female athletes alive. She already built a legendary career. But somewhere along the line, the focus shifted away from her greatness and toward proving this relationship mattered. That's the tragedy here. Because now people discuss the drama more than the championships. And social media does that to people constantly. It slowly shifts attention away from substance and toward spectacle. The algorithm rewards emotional mess more aggressively than discipline or achievement. So eventually even successful people start feeding the machine without realizing the machine is consuming them in return. That's why this entire situation feels less like romance and more like branding fatigue. Everything appears overly curated, over-explained, overperformed, overexposed. And once audiences feel exhaustion instead of admiration, backlash becomes inevitable. Meanwhile, Remy Ma's silence keeps growing louder. That's what's making this entire thing so uncomfortable for the internet to watch. She doesn't appear to be chasing the narrative anymore. She's allowing it to circle back to her naturally. And there's something psychologically powerful about that. People respect whoever appears least desperate for attention. Always. And honestly, that's the final lesson sitting underneath all this chaos. The internet loves confidence but can smell insecurity instantly. You don't have to scream to win. You don't have to post constantly to appear important. You don't have to perform happiness for strangers to make it real. Sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is stop talking entirely and let time expose everything naturally. That's exactly what seems to be happening now. The more the situation gets discussed, the more the audience keeps arriving at the same conclusion. One side appears to be forcing a narrative, while the other side appears comfortable enough to let silence do the work. And silence usually wins long-term, because social media burns hot but fades fast. Interviews disappear. Viral clips lose momentum. But dignity or the loss of it sticks to people much longer. That's why this story matters beyond gossip. It's really about image management in the internet era. It's about how quickly successful people can accidentally reduce themselves into online spectacles, chasing validation from strangers. It's about the danger of turning relationships into public campaigns instead of private experiences. And most importantly, it's about understanding that imitation rarely defeats authenticity. You can borrow aesthetics. You can recreate poses. You can mimic branding. You can wear similar jewelry. You can repeat similar narratives. But you cannot copy history people emotionally lived through already. That's why audiences keep returning to Remy Ma emotionally even when she barely speaks. Because to them, she feels original. And originality always carries a different weight than performance. At the end of the day, nobody truly knows every detail behind closed doors except the people involved. Rumors remain rumors. Gossip remains gossip. But public perception has already shifted heavily, and that shift tells its own story. Right now, the internet doesn't see a victorious new queen sitting comfortably on a throne. It sees somebody struggling to hold together a crown that never properly fit in the first place. And meanwhile, the original queen isn't even fighting for the throne publicly anymore. She's simply existing while the internet fights on her behalf. That's the coldest part of this entire saga. Because sometimes the loudest victory is the one that never needs to announce itself at all.